So TED, of course, stands for Technology, Entertainment, and Design. But more recently, it's expanded to include many other issues. And I'm not sure whether maybe you can see this, but I just did the search on the TED website on the term happiness. And it shows 151 results with really a range of talks. Now, this is a theme that actually really matters for Armenia for a range of reasons. This is a list of well-being and happiness taken from the World Values Survey, an international survey effort. In this case, there are 98 countries in that ranking, and Armenia is second to last, just before Zimbabwe, actually below Iraq. So it's an issue that's important, and when we look, this has real consequences. I mean, this is when we look, for example, through our Caucasus Barometer, one of the surveys we do, and when we ask people, given the chance, would you move abroad? 48% of Armenians tell us that they would move abroad. 17% say they wouldn't come back. They would want to stay abroad. So this is an issue that actually has a lot of policy implications about living in this country. Now, one of the things that I'm going to try to suggest to you is that detailed data matters, quality data matters to understand what exactly is going on in that context. Now, one of the ways of illustrating is by showing one of my favorite slides. For well-being, we know that being connected matters, how we interact with other people matters. So the data from the Caucasus, once we look at it in aggregate here, we have the question, how many close friends do you have? So this actually sort of lives up to the stereotype about the Caucasus. So the Azerbaijanis very much oriented on their family. The Georgians very gregarious. 44% say they have 4 or 10 close friends. The Armenians somewhere in between. And this is meaningful data. It actually tells us a lot about social networks. But it also hides very important other information. Because once you disaggregate between the genders, you see that in Armenia, 9% of men tell us they don't have any close friends, but 21% of women. So in an aggregate number, without quality data, and without digging further, you don't actually really see what's going on. Now let's turn this around in a positive way and look at who is happy. What can we learn from those that are happy? And this is now taken from the European Values Survey. All of this data is publicly available, so any one of you can actually sort of explore this and come to your own conclusions or different conclusions. So who's happy? Comparative survey includes really pretty much all of Europe and parts of Eurasia, so to speak. Here we see 22% in Armenia tell us they're very happy. The category quite happy is recognized in research to be a bit of a fudge. This is what you say when you can't quite make up your mind. It doesn't actually mean you're really happy. So we contrast that with not very happy and not at all happy to see the contrasts between those groups. Now I'm going to give you a quick summary and my personal interpretation of how I would look at that and what I would conclude from that. Younger Armenians are much more happy than older Armenians. This is good news. We could say we have to harness that enthusiasm and carry it forward, but there's an extent of societal obligation. There's an older generation that has gone through a tough transition and that in a way deserves to be included. So this is an issue there's a public issue, sort of public policy issue here as well. Being healthy, unsurprisingly, plays a large role. If you're healthy, if you say that your health is very good over here, you're really way up there with being very happy. Interestingly, sort of the negative line, not happy, moves down pretty smoothly. And again, sort of quality data interesting here. The real jump in happiness happens between good and very good. And of course, some of the irony is that one of the ways we get over being unhappy is precisely consuming things that are actually not terribly good for our health. Religious attendance. We had that today as a theme. And it's in the background. We see that those people that attend for more than once a week, religious services for more than once a week, they're happier than people that sort of attend very rarely. Interestingly, over here, people that sort of say they never attend, practically never, which is sort of a very strong statement because here it's less often than a year. We actually see that there's an uptick there. Again, that conforms to research we've seen in many other places, that having a firm system of beliefs and actually practicing and adhering to that system and doing that very regularly, that really matters for how you live and how you feel yourself, how you how you think about your life. Now, what could I be showing here? Any suggestions? Smiles? Yeah. People we work with. Yeah. I mean, it's an honor. It's really nice to be standing here, but the people that make sure that I have something to say are all of these people, my colleagues, that make this happen, people from Armenia, Georgia, and Azerbaijan working together who pull this together. It is really, it's a privilege to be working with them, and it's something that I enjoy very much, and presumably an experience you have as well. And we see here, for Armenians, those that are highly satisfied with their job. Yeah, look at 9 and 10 over there. Really, it goes way up. That's not necessarily something you can influence when you pick a job, but it's something that, if you're an employer, you can make a huge difference in lives. And it's sort of an interesting thing to track. And then we look at trust in people. Here we have the response, people try to take advantage. And here the response, people generally try to be fair. And what we see there is that if you believe that generally people in society try to be fair, and if you have these beliefs very strongly, you're much happier than otherwise. Again, there's a prescription in that. It's worth having the right expectations. It's worth building patterns of reciprocity, expanding them and contributing to things going better in society. If you are over on that side, this is really good for you and it's good for society. And in terms of responsibility, here, that slide, so a slightly more mixed picture where we ask the question, or where the question is asked, are things of the responsibility of the state, or is ultimately the individual responsible for sorting out problems? The one clear thing that we can see is if you think that all the responsibility with the state, this is really that externalization goes along with not being particularly happy. And that really leads me here to the last slide that I think carries some of the main message that I wanted to put across. We here compared 3 countries. We compared Armenia, Denmark, which is among the happiest, and Estonia, which is sort of moves out of also through a transition experience. Now, sure, those experiences are very different, but they're very, very dramatically different once you start looking at levels of belonging to organizations, being engaged, and contributing. You see this broad range of organizations. I'm not going to read them out, but about contributing to what goes on around you and associating with other people. Now look just at the last line. The number of people that say they don't belong to any organization in Denmark, 7%. In Armenia, 88%. That's a really striking contrast. Let me zoom out briefly to my summary, and then I'll get back to this. What I tried to convince you about today, or the case I was trying to make, was that looking at happiness really matters. It's an issue that requires our attention. It requires that on a societal level, because this should be an attractive place to live. This should also be a place where the older generation that is left out should feel included. Quality data can guide our decision-making and guide it in good directions and help us understand how we can do things better. Not all the conclusions, not all the suggestions that we get from that research are new or revolutionary, but they're important. They're vitally important. And here, with that one conclusion here in the end that I tried to present, that engaging, volunteering, that this is a way of making a difference. I think that's an idea worth trying, an idea worth testing, an idea worth spreading. Thanks very much.